When I'm doing my kick, if I try to put all my weight in my kick, I tend to overcommit to the kick. So how do you try to have maximum power while staying in the 45 degrees?
Sure. The problem is that you're equating power to mass. I mean, because you said I'm trying to throw all my weight there. Your weight actually gets projected to them. So it's a placement of weight, not a throwing of weight, because you're throwing yourself off balance, right? So if you if I throw my kick, right, and I'm throwing my weight, then I feel like my whole body is being pulled by my leg, right? But that's not the idea. The idea in our system is that I sense my mass and I place it at the end of the power plane, which is their center and or the target. The center is the simplest thing to think about, their center, because that gives you, for example, if their leg is here, their center's here. So I'll be kicking through to the center. I maintain balance and release. I target to their center as I go through the hook kick. So you should be able to stop on the spot with your leg in the air and not feel like you've lost balance. So the power comes from, think about it. If my structure and my mass is unified through centering and sensing, when I hit you, you're going to deal with my whole mass as one unit because it's unified. Further, by projecting your intent and mass onto their center, the placement of your movement is going to affect their balance, but also drop the power into them. So it's the unification of your structure and mass, so it's like you're hitting, like the power of a car, right? If a car hits you, the whole mass is unified, right? It just hits you. It's not like part of it threw itself and got off balance. It just stayed balanced, right? So I think to solve it's a great question, right? Because normally we think that force equals power, but it's different. Force is the use of the physical mass in a tight way, slammed against the object. Power is the unification and placement in this context of your mass, intention, energy, and momentum. So a good exercise for you to fix that problem would be to freeze at the endpoint. If you freeze at the endpoint, you'll stop yourself from throwing because you have to balance on one leg. So if you just take a moment to freeze and think of this as an exercise, right? You don't have to think of this as this is how I'm going to practice, right? If you just freeze, that'll give you a moment to be aware of your balance and unify your structure throughout the whole movement, as opposed to just throw your leg at them, which is a different type of power generation, so to speak. Does that make sense?
I try and I see.
Yeah, try it, but don't, so stop. So just hold the last point. That'll get you focused on staying balanced at that point of movement. Cool.
Okay.
Have a crack, sir.
Yep.
Good question. What other questions do we have?
Yeah. So with that, that freezing point, I noticed that by controlling the mass, you can redirect so much quicker. Because if you overextend and you want to come back the other way, you've already gone farther than you need to. But if you find that control, so what I've been doing is like moving and then switching pretty quickly right at that moving point, and the redirection is just like on point. Helps me balance too, both directions.
Great observation. So that's actually quite an interesting point, because that's where people get stuck when transitioning from structure to state. They get stuck in letting their structure be supportive to, this is a more advanced concept, but follow along if you can. If I'm making my shoulder go towards my elbow, right? My shoulder to my elbow, it creates like a direction from my shoulder to my elbow, which creates a structural strength from my elbow to my shoulder. Then if I push from my elbow to my wrist, I create structural strength in my elbow to my wrist and hand. So I have this strong structure because of a push from my shoulder to my elbow to my wrist. So you can think, okay, this structure is now strong because I'm pushing through that structure. But the problem is that it's only strong on that line, because if you attack it from another side, the structure is weak because the force is going through it. Think of it like force going through this way, directionally strong through my arm. Right? This is a bit more of an advanced concept, but some of you guys will follow me. Now, the objective, like what TJ is talking about, is that you're not actually pushing through the structure or pushing through the kick at any point in time. Everything is unified on the spot. See, Jean-Paul, it's meaning you sense everything on the spot. So it's unified in and of itself. So as you guys sense your body now, so you center and you sense your whole body, the body becomes unified through sensing. So your structure is unified dynamically now. It's not unified directionally, my shoulder to my elbow to my wrist, which is an old way of teaching that in our lineage. People would say shoulder to elbow, elbow to wrist. And that works for structure. But to go beyond structure, you need to think more dynamically. So just like TJ saying there, when I'm not pushing or throwing my weight to the end point, I feel like I can move in any other direction. Precisely. Because you are connected through sensing, not through direction of structure. Does that make sense, team? And this is the ultimate we're aiming for, at least the ultimate that my master was teaching, was how to use the mind, the Nim Tao, to infuse the spirit into the body, lead the energy so that you're powerful in every direction. You know, he would test our movements, for example, the Fuxao. Not only, he'd start off testing it this way so that you were structurally correct, but once you could do it structurally, he'd then pull you inside, outside, top, bottom, so he'd move you in every direction to be sure that you are unified in every direction, which links to the further point, what's happening here, expansion. Meaning, you center in your intention, get a good feeling quality, which gives you an expanding level of energy and consciousness, and you expand that through the whole body. So your body becomes robust in every direction. So you get, wherever you get force put on you, you feel that there's a sense of robustness and structural integrity, not just when you go through one line of structure. Not just if you have arrows from like arrow from here to here and an arrow from there to there. So then now I have strength in that line. But if I go this way, I'm weak, right? So it's like the arrows point in every direction, which is like what an expansion is, right? If a ball expands, it's going in every direction. So you think of it like that. So that's a very great question, Matthew, and a great observation, Tej, which links into how to manifest the state and what it manifests like when you're doing it correctly. And you're all working it all the time. You're centering your intention. So you're getting the mind to a higher expansion of consciousness, so the energy is expanding. You then spread that through with the sensing, moving, and visual energy, so that the whole body becomes infused with the spirit. And then you maintain that as you funnel all of that power down the power plane, so you're placing your intention, your energy, your mass momentum on the center of the target / opponent, and then you move through all of the sequences and shapes while maintaining that. So you're developing the concentration to maintain that focus while moving. So yeah, Wing Chun.
It was a good day for me to hear that. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, team, have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll see you at our next session. Peace.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, everyone.